Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 13th episode of Authors Chat Beth Jordan 23 with my new guest in her lovely blue top, Debby Buxton. Hi, Debby.
Hi, Beth. Hi, Beth.
Hi. How are you today?
Oh, very good, thank you.
Yeah, you look
Yes, sunny
very
day,
fresh.
very nice.
Yeah, you look really fresh. Have you been doing something special today?
I, I don't think so, just that it's maybe nice weather. It isn't raining,
Yeah.
it's sunny,
Yeah.
makes you feel good.
Yeah. And which part of the country do you live in?
I, which country?
No, which part of the
In
country
the,
do you live in?
oh, in the Peak District in Derbyshire.
Oh gosh, it's really beautiful. I know when it's sunny there, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's just wonderful. Yeah.
It is lovely, beautiful.
Okay, great. So Debbie and I are going to have a chat about her book, which is about to be published, and her book is called Someday. Uh, I'm going to be handing over quite a lot of the conversation to Debbie because she has quite an extraordinary story to tell. Before we do, I just want to remind our listeners that this YouTube channel is aimed at promoting new authors, new indie authors, to gain access to a wider audience, and so that listeners and readers can discover new authors, new books, new talents, and who knows, there may be an award winner amongst the ones I've already chatted to, and I will be chatting to in the future. So once again, welcome, Debbie. And yes, so I've actually read up to chapter 12 of your book so far. So forgive me for not reading the rest of it, but it's actually great because the part of the story
No,
that
that's
we
very
discussed is amazing. So tell us about this part of the story that could only be written by an amazing writer like yourself. Go ahead, over to you.
Uh, well, it was during the lockdown when I started writing the story. I had finished work to go travelling with Andrew, my husband, and we had managed to do that for a couple of years, so we were very, very lucky. And then the COVID came along, and all of a sudden I needed something to think about and something to apply my mind to. And this story happened 22 years ago now, when we planned to go cycling around Tuscany.
Beautiful
And
part of the world.
yes, and we were very, very much looking forward to that. But within half an hour of arriving in Bologna, we had quite a traumatic event, and we thought the holiday would be ruined. We didn't think we would be able to continue, and then within sort of a 24-hour period, events conspired in the strangest way imaginable, really, to get us back on track. And we went on to have the most fantastic fortnight cycling in, and we ended our journey in Pisa, and we stayed in a little one-star hotel overlooking the Leaning Tower and the Duomo, and it was just such a beautiful place to be. And then I discovered that those buildings are located on a sort of grassy area known as the Field of Miracles.
Okay.
And it seemed nothing short of miraculous that we were there. And these events have stayed in my mind all that time. And when the COVID came along, I decided to try and write about it.
Okay. So would I assume correctly that your story is part memoir and part fiction?
It is, yes. So my genre is memoir fiction.
Okay.
So it's a fictional story, but based on real events that have happened to Andrew and I.
Yeah. So as you're saying that, I'm thinking, how did you, as a writer, begin to weave the fiction and the memoir based on real life events? How did you weave it and create this incredible story of events that only I was saying to give me a really good writer like yourself could actually do that? Because when I was reading, you're so clear, but you're also very concise with the way that you write everything so that the reader is kept at a really quick pace all the way through your story. It's really well crafted,
Oh, thank you.
really well. So let's tell the readers, or I always keep saying readers because I think of readers first and listeners second, but let's, for the listeners and the readers to get a sense of these extraordinary events that helped you to write this wonderful story called Someday.
Um, when I started writing, so I hadn't had any creative writing experience and no training. I hadn't been to any workshops or anything like that. And my background is that I was a claims investigator. So all of the writing that I had previously done was with a legal element to it, so very formal.
Yeah.
And initially, when I tried to write the story, it didn't come together very well. I was sort of restricted by facts and it took a while to realize that in fiction I could make it be what I wanted it
Yes,
to be.
absolutely.
And so then I thought about the elements that I wanted to bring out in the story,
Yeah.
then made the characters live the events.
Yeah.
So there are things that I wanted to talk to people about in my story,
Yeah.
and then I made the characters act that out.
Yeah.
And that's basically how I pieced it together.
Yeah. It's a very clever technique, actually. And I think, as a memoir writer myself, I might find that quite difficult because I find dialogue difficult. So it's something that I have to learn as a writer, how to write good dialogue. I can write memoir, I can tell stories, but it's the dialogue. So when I was reading your story and I was listening to the dialogue, I thought, oh my God, this is so natural the way it comes over. But
Oh,
yeah, but I
very
really want,
kind.
but I really want you to give us a little insight into the series of events that took place in Someday that really brings the story to life.
Ah,
Tell us what happened.
so I think so this, as I say, the fictional characters are slightly different from
Mhm.
Andrew and I, because when we were there, we were a couple. We've been together for a long time.
Mm.
This is a relatively new experience for the
Yeah,
two main characters.
yeah.
They have been away before
Mm.
together, but this is something new, a 2-week trip, and so they know each other fairly well,
Mhm.
but not to any depth.
Yeah.
And then this traumatic event occurs,
Mm.
and so then they have to fight their way out of that.
Mm.
And who is going to take the lead role? Who is going to struggle and why? And what do they learn about each other and about
Yeah.
themselves through these traumatic events? And then, as I say, when everything mysteriously begins to unfold in their favour, and then they set off on their journey together for this cycling trip across Tuscany,
Yeah.
and they maybe find out more things about each other along the way, and they share more things.
Yeah.
And I think by the end of the story, they are quite changed as people
Yeah. So it was
because
really,
of the things that they have shared.
yeah. So would it be safe to say that were they actually a couple or were they just friends at the time, just traveling companions?
Ah, they are a mixture of the two.
Okay.
Maybe not a couple in the sense that most people would imagine,
Mm.
but they are more than friends.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
mixture of the two.
Yeah.
They
So,
have a fairly unique situation, but that again is partly because of the people that they are. When they meet, they are both already damaged by events that have occurred in their past.
mhm.
And so for that reason,
Mm.
they are very, very wary
Mhm.
of other people, of how much other people can hurt them. So they tend to hold everybody at arm's length,
Mm. Yeah.
and they gradually let their guard down with each other
Mm.
to an extent.
Right. Okay. And the title of your story is called Someday. What does that actually mean in terms of your story?
Someday, the 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 significance that I wanted the title to have a kiss on the end,
Mm.
because in this story, someday is a promise that someone has made. So it's a hope for the future,
Yeah.
and it's a longing for an event in the future that someone has already promised they will do their best
Mhm.
to provide. But then again, because of the circumstances that unfold, it seems impossible that that promise can ever be fulfilled.
Yeah. Yeah.
But by the end of the book, the question is, has it been fulfilled?
Mhm.
And that is I think that is for the reader
Yeah.
to decide for themselves. You
Yeah.
know, there are some big questions that are asked at the end of the book,
Mhm.
and it's for each individual to decide what they think.
So you're really teasing us. You're really teasing me now because I'm feeling a little bit. Tell me more. Tell me more. When we were talking a couple of days ago about your story, there's is what was interesting for me is that this was about 23 years ago. So
Yeah,
23 years ago, when we think about traveling and when we think about money and access to money, and if anything goes wrong in a foreign country, does the British embassy do anything to actually help you? Because I had a similar incident with my first husband. When we went to Italy, we had all our money stolen completely. And we went to the British embassy and they gave us nothing, not even £10. And we actually, God knows how, we scraped together some pounds to buy fuel and get to Calais in order to get back home again. And
right.
got back to England with 10 pence, or was it 10 shillings? 10 shillings, I think, at the time. Yes, we're going back a long time.
Yeah,
So it was interesting to listen to what you were saying about when the series of events that took place, and without giving away too much, but I need to tell a little bit. Some of your personal effects were stolen, and you were left without money. And for you, how did you cope with that? You know, bearing in mind credit cards were not that accessible. You maybe had traveling checks at the time, no mobile phones to call anybody to help you. I think there was Western Union. So,
yeah.
so how, in a situation like that, how did Lisa and Jason, the two main characters, how did they cope with trying to get money to continue their holiday?
Yeah, I tried very hard to describe, because we were in a situation where we had got the two bicycles, we had got our panniers and so on.
Mm,
So when this happened, only one of us could go with the police, and that was me. Andrew stayed behind.
mm,
And the police didn't speak English, and there were various things. And the total sense of panic,
mm,
absolute panic, because we, we had nothing. And I've tried hard in the book to try and explain that, and to try
mm,
and explain how trying to untangle everything, and trying to decide what to focus on and what to try and sort out first.
Mm. Mm.
And once I had a bit of a plan, because then on top of everything else, Andrew became very ill.
Mm.
So for those first maybe 12 hours or so, 14 hours or so, it was very much sort of down to me to try and come up with a bit of a game plan.
Yeah.
And yeah, once I'd sorted out what to try and do first, the only telephone number I could use was to Visa in America, because it was a free phone number.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent all night awake phoning Visa because of the time difference and various things, and trying to sort out the situation with them to begin with. Then once that had happened, things went a bit haywire after that, which again I've described in the book.
Yeah.
And I'm not the most forthright of people at all in any situation. But I found out that when I'm desperate,
Yeah.
and I was desperate,
Yeah.
I can become quite forthright.
Yeah. Needs must.
And so when these problems came along, I did stand my ground, because there was nothing else
Yeah.
to be done.
Yeah.
But after that, then everything started to go our way. It was almost as though it had been a test.
Mm.
And it was all, I almost felt like I had passed the test.
Yeah.
And so once I'd done that, then the cosmos started making things go in our direction.
Yeah.
It was a very strange, it was a very odd feeling, but it felt as though I'd had to fight my way through this. And then once I had passed that, then everything was coming to help us.
Yeah.
And it just changed incredibly well. Incredibly well.
Yeah. And I think what was extraordinary in the story, well, for people like me who don't do the kind of holidays you and Andrew did, you actually cycle through Tuscany in something like 100 degrees temperature.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
That I can't even imagine you cycling in that kind of heat.
Compared to how the holiday started, that was relatively easy.
If you say so, Debbie. Yeah, heat and I.
After the start, we were so pleased to be able to be there.
Yeah.
You know, we'd so looked forward to this, and it was such a major disaster that then once we could set off and do what we had planned, even though we were so hot, we were drinking something between 8 and 10 litres of water a day.
Wow.
Just during the day,
Yeah.
you know, not in the evening time, just to be able to do the bike rides.
Yeah.
But we were so pleased to be there.
And I hope that in the evening you managed to settle, relax, and have some Italian vino. Oh, is it vino?
Yeah.
So,
yes.
So, for our listeners to get a sense of what your story is about, and because you haven't yet published your book and you are about to publish your book, you told me that there's a specific date that you'd like to aim for in publishing your book. What is that date?
Yes, it is the 14th of June this year, because it was the 14th of June 2002 when this all happened. So it will be the anniversary of this happening.
22 years ago, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I certainly hope that you will reach your target and that your book will be published, and our listeners
Thank you, Beth.
will have the opportunity to actually buy this book. And before we come to the end, I want to just say, having read your story, and I haven't read all of it, I'll be honest with you, because I didn't have the time to finish it before our discussion. There is so much love portrayed between the family members and support that they give each other. that actually at some point really brought tears to my eyes, that families can be so united and so loving and so supportive. And you really bring that across through, all your characters, some feisty characters, but they're so supportive of each other. Is that something to do with the part of the world in which you currently live? Are your family members like that, or friends in your circle of life?
I think, yes, I come from a very supportive family, and so my parents were very supportive. Their families on both sides, very, very supportive.
Yeah.
And when I started writing this book, it wasn't long after I'd lost both of my parents.
Yeah.
And the book is dedicated to them, and it was quite cathartic for me, because there are things that I wrote in the book where, through the characters, I am expressing my own loss, and there are certain parts of it that if I read it, it can make me cry, because I know how I was feeling when I wrote those bits.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have said those things to friends and family around me, so it was good. But yes, I was very, very fortunate to have a lovely, supportive upbringing, and so that is where that comes from.
That certainly comes through in your characterization, the dialogue, the very essence of family life and togetherness. Yeah. And what tips would you offer our listeners and our readers of writing in your genre or similar genres to yours? Do you have any tips that they could take away if they're planning on writing a story, as an example?
The strange thing, because I am a very new writer, as I say, I have no previous experience, and I am writing other things now. But I just think hard about the memory. It's strange how trying to write the story that I thought I was telling, and to try and do it well and think hard, is actually telling a story to me, if that makes sense. So I started off with the memory, but the more intensely I thought about the memory, there are things about it that I am learning the story as much as telling the story. The story speaks to me. If I think about it with that intensity. So I would say to anybody who wants to have a go, just take the time, think hard, look at the words, and you might find that the story that you are starting to tell actually becomes something different, and you learn the story yourself. It's a lovely thing. It really is a lovely, lovely thing.
And do you have any favorite characters from the book that you've written?
Oh, favorite characters. I suppose I like all of them, but funnily enough, Simon is the main character's closest friend. And that guy is based around my ex-husband. Now, me and my ex-husband have remained in contact and get on, and have, when we meet, we have a lot of fun and what have you. The dialogue, like you mentioned, for Simon is the kind of thing that my ex-husband would come out with. And so he makes me laugh. Simon makes me laugh. And so I have a soft spot for Simon.
Okay. I'd say you're right, because I like the fact that he's slightly overweight, and then he fancy this girl, and then Jason, his buddy, says, "Right, we're going to the gym." He says, "What? I'm going to the gym?"
No.
But no, no. And then when he's finding his body changing, he feels, "Oh,
that's
this girl
right.
likes
His
me."
mannerisms, the way he talks. He's like I say, ex-husband, you know, very funny guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes he offends accidentally, which Simon does, you know.
Yes. Yeah,
Oh
he's
yeah.
a very human person. It really comes through. So yeah, I feel, or I having read part of it, I think you have got a really excellent story over there, and I really wish you a lot of luck and hope you sell lots of copies. And what will you do after you've published this book?
I have already started and almost finished
Mhm.
a shorter story, but something that I would like to offer for free when I can get a website set
Yeah.
up, and it is called Diary of a 50-Year Love Affair, and
Okay.
it's my life intertwined with my love of ABBA that has lasted for 50 years, and they are celebrating their anniversary of Eurovision this year. I'm sort of telling their story and mine as well, and so that is almost finished, and then I'm halfway through a sequel to Someday as well.
Excellent.
So
And
I have a few things on the go.
sounds good. And I remember you told me that your favorite piece of music of ABBA's is I Have a Dream.
Yes, yes. Everybody should have a dream and pursue it to
Yes.
the bitter end.
Yeah. And do you feel that you are fulfilling your dreams?
I may be fulfilling a dream I never even knew I had. You know, as a child, I loved reading. I
Mhm.
adored reading. I could lose myself in reading for days. And I've always admired people who can write beautiful stories.
Mm,
Never ever imagined that I would try to do it, but
mm.
maybe somewhere in the background, I've always hoped one day I would try, you know, and
Yeah.
so maybe it was a dream.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to congratulate you on fulfilling this one dream of yours and look forward to finding out more from you when your book is going to be published and where we can actually buy your book. So, Debbie, do you want to just mention your Facebook page so listeners and readers can contact you about your book when it's forthcoming?
So on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, it's always the same contact. It's Debbie spelt with a Y,
Hmm.
so Debby Buxton, Buxton, author, and that will find me in a
Okay.
sun hat and sunglasses.
Yes. Could you just repeat that again in case we didn't quite
So
catch it?
it's Debbie spelt with a Y,
Uh-huh.
Debby
Yeah.
Buxton,
Yeah.
Buxton.
Right. Okay. Thank you and bye for now and bye everybody and hope you all have a wonderful day today. Bye for now. Bye.